Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Manel Msalmi. I'm the president of the European Association for the Defense of Minorities. And today we are here to commemorate the Bangladesh Hindu genocide of 1971 and to pay tribute to the 2 and 3 million people who were killed, including 240,000 women who were raped. We need to remember the genocide incident 51 years ago and never forget the brutality of this massacre in which Hindus in Bangladesh were oppressed and tortured. The Hindu community lost its land and was slaughtered by the Pakistani army. Raping the Hindu women following fatwas in Pakistan was really inhumane and barbaric, especially that they were killed after being raped. Today, we yearn for a global acknowledgement of this genocide, mainly because it remains as of unrecognized in comparison to the other genocides in Europe and Africa. Today, following Women's History Month, we want to pay tribute to these war heroines who were speaking and who were fighting during the War of Independence in 1971. In her book, I quote a review of war heroines. The author speaks about the rape of Bangladeshi women in 1971 War of Independence. Dr. Nilima Ibrahim worked for 24 years to publish a narrative of rape victims by interviewing them after the war. The narratives mirrored the violence of society against women and the subordination of the female victims, mainly during the war. Rape was used as a weapon to subjugate women. Female victims, mainly during the war, have narratives, and I quote, "In this quiet narratives, the young women and children clearly express how they went from idyllic childhood to the horrors of genocide, how they continued to live with painful memories and social exclusion after the war." I quote, "It is a whole generation with young women and girls who sacrificed themselves during the independence, the War of Independence, and lived with physical and psychological abuse, as well as an obsession on the part of their families and society concerning the detailed description of their rape incidents." End of quote. Dr. Nusrat Rabik pointed out that rape is a weapon of war and has not been recognized by the international community. Rape and sexual violence have to be recognized by international law and a war crime, which was the case for the first time in Yugoslavia in early 1990s. Unfortunately, religious conservatives have played a horrible role in inflicting violence upon women. Victims are forced to marry the rapist by the court. It was a physical and psychological violence and pressure on the victims who sacrificed themselves for the country. The horrific genocide attempted to take away the cultural, religious and economic dimension of Bangladesh. Robert Payne says, I quote, "There were not to the small casual killing of young officers who wanted to demonstrate their efficiency, but organized massacres conducted by sophisticated staff officers who know exactly what they are doing. Muslim soldiers sent out to kill Muslim peasants went about their work mechanically and efficiently until killing defenseless people became a habit, like smoking cigarettes or drinking wine." End of quote. However, there are always people who stand for the truth and for justice. A Pakistani reporter, Anthony Maskinhas, wrote an article about the genocide which changed history. He wanted to stand up for the truth and he risked his life and that of his family. His article was considered as a betrayal to his country, and he was even accused of being an agent. Another book, which was an extraordinary and powerful piece, a kind of diary of Anne Frank. It tells the story of a mother who lost her son and recalls all the massacres of the genocide. The diary focuses on political and domestic issues. The Bangladeshi genocide reminds us that we are all human beings. We should respect each other, including our cultural heritage, language and religion. The conflict based on linguistics and religious level can never be solved by violence, war, persecution and torture, because at the end, The oppressed people always seek to find freedom and dignity. Even though they lose their families and lands, they will always defend their values and identity. Today, we need to remember these victims, but also learn from the past and build a better future for the next generation based on brotherhood, coexistence, peace and stability. We should never forget those who sacrificed their lives for the nation, women and men who saved the country and built a new generation and tried to overcome their fears and their frustrations by going further and carrying out their journey of survival. We should never forget people who stood for truth and transmitted the stories of the Holocaust survivors and witnessed the massacres. We should always remember that we all belong to humanity and that our differences can bring us together. And as famous Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore says, excuse me for the pronunciation, I quote, "Patriotism cannot be our final spiritual shelter. My refuge is humanity. I will not buy glass of the price of diamonds. I will never allow patriotism to triumph over humanity as long as I live." Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.